All right. Hello, everyone. So, checking everything if it's all right. Let's go. Okay, yeah. Um, whew. Welcome to the Geeky Ones. We're a podcast about geek culture, from video games to wrestling, comics, video games, and more. We're here to talk about it. So, like, we're just doing everything. We're just doing everything. Checking stuff out. But yeah, we're at episode 98, guys. So hello, episode 98. Wild. That's wild. Episode 98 is interesting. We talked about a few episodes ago. We talked about GTA, how we're hyped about it, and then by the time that it released, now we're having problems with it because the launch is a disaster, enough of a disaster though that Rockstar has pulled it from shelves. Rockstar's pulled it from digital storefronts. Like, I don't think I can see it on Steam right now.
They
Last time
give
it was
they
there.
gave free copies of the old versions to those
Ah,
who have bought it.
that's beautiful. But yeah, because of what happened to Grand Theft Auto, um, because of what happened to GTA Definitive Edition, we take a look back. We took a nice little look back on the worst video game launches of all time. We have 10. Yeah, there's way more than 10. But we just had 10 notable ones that games that we all enjoyed or had anticipation for, and disappointed in launch, as in, like, whether it be a buggy mess upon launch, which is most of the games here, um or yeah, basically these games launch so bad they barely worked. Let's just say that they barely worked. If you got it to work, congratulations. You somehow broke the unlucky cycle of games. But now we start with our 10, with, of course, the topic on hand, GTA Definitive Edition. Okay, let's establish this background. Okay, GTA Definitive Edition is supposed to be was supposed to be like an entire remaster of the 3D trilogy, diba? GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas. All they're gonna do is to enhance the graphics, fix a few things, and release it to the wild. Not like nothing happened, diba? Just basically release it almost the same build, but slightly better, with just the graphics that changed. But then again, we didn't see that happen, diba? Like, I don't think we did see um uh I don't think we did see whatever we wished for happened, because GTA Definitive Edition is a wonky mess with a lot of glitches, and it's kind of sad. And yeah, and according to Jacob Shelter, who is our first commenter for this episode, we've been cyberpunked again. But to be fair, Cyberpunk had like almost a decade long hype train before we launched that, before they launched whatever they did, whatever version of that. Um, we probably tested the closed beta. They just didn't tell us. But yeah, GTA Definitive Edition is just in a lot of ways bad. I heard a review called it soulless. Like, it's just Rockstar making money moves, especially when people are craving for a new GTA, and they kind of swerve the expectation by, hey, we're gonna remaster these first before we tell you anything about our next big project, because they have been silent for the past 3 years on what new thing they'll do apart from this one. So yeah, what went wrong here? So yeah, Steven, have you seen some of the glitches?
Okay. I actually enjoyed the glitches, pero that's me being a viewer, not a player. So I would not exactly be saying this if I was playing the definitive edition right now. So for me, I enjoyed them as a casual GTA player, but I understand the point of view of serious players who will say nga na, this is a very frustrating game kasi nga, nothing works properly. Cars get bigger at random. Like the further you drive at a certain point,
No, you
the car
wiggle
gets
them
bigger.
enough. Wiggle them
Hmm?
left and right on the road. They get
Mm-hmm.
bigger.
Yeah.
I forgot. I think there might have been a cheat code tied to that, but I know you'd never be able to do that on the original
Yeah.
version.
So it's funny as a viewer, but not as a player. I feel bad for the players who downloaded on day one. So man, good luck to them.
Yeah. So yeah, Earl, I know you've downloaded the San Andreas one early. How was your how was your gameplay experience?
I can't complain too much because it's free on Game Pass, but it's still better than Cyberpunk.
Okay, yeah.
The
Well,
glitch, as what Steven said, the glitches were a bit fun and a bit annoying on some part, but it's not the glitch that you have experienced on Cyberpunk. It won't give you random crashes, it won't give you any crashes for just playing around 3 minutes or so. And by car mechanics or NPC glitches, Cyberpunk still has it worse based on my experience. And to give a good note to the San Andreas version, it did give an upgrade to the background, to the environment, just to that part only.
well, as far as I know, yeah, they're gonna fix this. I've heard. I know they sent a statement that they're gonna fix this because yeah, they should. One problem is they have to. I want to see it on Steam again, please.
I
I
think
want to be
I
able to
think it
buy
will
it
be back.
soon. It will be.
Same
It
as
will come
Cyberpunk.
back eventually.
Cyberpunk is now in the market, even though it's still as broken as it is. There's some minor
Yeah,
fixes, but every time there's a fix, there's also another glitch that will pop up.
yeah, that's one problem. I always notice. And also like I remember Um, they delayed all the next updates to 2022. So like, yeah, we're gonna have to wait for a while until Cyberpunk gets its update. But meanwhile, GTA, I don't think we have to wait that long, thankfully. So despite the sad glitches of a lot of the GTA games and the bad reception, I think there's a huge chance they're gonna fix this up and it will just be at least as good as what the original trilogy was. Because it's just what all we wanted was just a shiny new trilogy remastered. Looks nice, looks great, and
Pokemon.
yeah, like what Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl did, diba? Like
But
they
still with
did,
so many glitches also.
yeah, but still, people like it and it doesn't work. It works. At least Pokemon worked well enough and people are
True,
loving it.
true.
Even though the content isn't that much. There's nothing new apart from the new graphics. Like it's just the same game. But people still love it because it's Pokemon and they didn't mess with anything in the formula. And it's nice. It's nice to see that they did that. And yeah. Now from one broken game from Take Two Interactive or slash Rockstar, we go from another take, which is WWE 2K20. Arguably
My God.
the most busted wrestling game out there.
Worse
Um,
than the PS1 versions.
yeah, worse than the PS1 WWF Attitude or ECW games made by Acclaim. Those were complete shit. But this one is worse because you're paying $60 for this. You paid premium. You paid AAA video game money to get a game that's kinda, I don't know, busted beyond
I even,
recognition.
I
It's
even
like,
bought the Ultimate Edition.
oh,
Oh,
wait, what
I'm
was
sorry
the
for
wait?
you, man.
What with the what did the Ultimate Edition have? I forgot what it had there. I know they were hyping that up a lot.
Oh
Early
my
access
goodness.
to the Fiend Bray Wyatt and some story arcs.
The Fiend. Oh
Oh,
my gosh. The Fiend.
It
that
gives
was
you
sad.
story missions in the future
Busted
and
wrestling game
hell.
out there. Yeah, that's sad. So yeah, but yeah, I remember almost wanting to buy one of the earlier 2K Ultimate Editions because they're really good. But yeah, WWE 2K20. What is there to discuss? What is there, like, wrestlers bouncing, rolling on the floor, moves not registering. Like when you suplex someone, they turn into some mangled body mess, ragdoll effects. But Earl, does
Crashes.
it crash as well? Oh
Hmm.
no, does it
It
crash?
it crashes on the Xbox version. I don't know in the PlayStation version or the PC version, but it crashes randomly. And I think it's a 2K server problem also. When I finish all the story modes to unlock all characters, all accessories or whatsoever, my save file got corrupted and I cannot even recover it via Xbox Live.
No, even the cloud save got destroyed. So no, that's bad. Okay.
Their 2K
And
servers in NBA is better than that. I don't know why they don't use the 2K servers from NBA to their WWE counterpart. Community
yeah,
also have shown that why don't they put the same thought on that NBA 2K to WWE 2K where we get updates or we can put custom rosters or whatsoever we can download
oh
it because
yeah,
it's too
Roster
limited.
sharing.
yeah. Like all you have to do is all you have to do in 2K is to download some guy,
Mm.
some
Mm.
new roster made by a guy, and then you now have the roster of the next season of the newest season. So yeah, I wish they do that in WWE because that would actually make it smoother, especially when you're running GM mode and you want to have the latest talent available, or you
Especially
want
if
to have. Mhm.
especially if there's brand switch.
Oh
It's so hard to
yeah,
transfer one superstar to another if there's no update to give it to you right away.
yeah. So you have to do it yourself eventually. So it's sad, but yeah, WWE 2K20 was so bad, in fact, that we never got WWE 2K21,
True. It's a
and
downgrade. It's a
yeah,
downgrade to 2019 and 2018 counterpart.
yeah, it's really good. 2019 was good.
So
2K19
good.
was really good, diba?
2K19 is AJ Styles or Seth Rollins?
Styles was
Styles.
19. Yeah.
The
Can
golden
I just
AJ
share my
Styles.
experience?
Yeah, go, Steven.
I bought 2K19 on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was my last. It was my first, like my first. Well, I think it was because of I was leaving na. So my job gave me my Christmas bonus that they've been holding for years. Noong time na yun. And then I bought 2K19 GTA 5 on a whim, and I think those were the two games I enjoyed the most. Not because I bought it with my Christmas bonus, but because they were just really good games. And 2K19, I think, was the last game handled by Ukes. Tama ba?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
it was the
Mm-hmm.
last game handled by Ukes. So I think it really was just saying na, hey, we're going na. Let's have one last hurrah before 2K takes over. So when 2K took over in 2K20, everything was shit because Ukes didn't give any of the plans, I guess. Kasi nga, di ba, they had to do everything from scratch, which is difficult, especially with this whole, you gotta have an annual edition every year, which is my biggest complaint with sports games. Sports games have a tendency to just like release a new game every year instead of saying, hey, maybe we need to take a 1 year break, or, you know,
No, people buy $60 of that every year.
yeah, I
So
know. Like as an NHL player, I'm not buying 22 anymore because I've seen the glitches. It's shit. So I this is kind of old and like weird, but I bought NHL 2K10 on the PS3 instead because there are so many things that 10 years ago you can do in a 2K game that you can still not do in an EA game until now. It's been 10 years. Anyway, yun lang. End of rant. 2K has a weird history with updating their games, I guess. Yun lang.
Yeah. Well, apart from taking care of NBA 2K, well, which they have been doing quite nicely for the past few years. Well, the wrestling part is kind of wonky. I mean, yeah, even the previous 2K titles have had problems, but not as bad as this. And now they're gonna have to redo everything and do WWE 2K22 coming out next year, which they're hyping, diba? They're hyping it up to be really nice.
There's a GM mode. That's one feature I
Yeah,
like.
that's what people they gave people the GM mode finally. Make your own show, compete with Smack Raw and Raw SmackDown or NXT. So it's gonna be good, hopefully. Yeah, and until WWE announces another chain of releases. So
Oh man, that was
they
so
should,
sad.
I think WWE should lock down their roster by January just for the 2K team the WWE 2K team to finish their job. Because I think that's gonna cause delay. That's already causing delays. The fact that they're gonna have to scrap character models, move sets of certain wrestlers
I think this is the smallest roster of a 2K game, aside
so
from
far.
adding the legends and Hall of
Ah,
Yeah,
Famers.
true,
it's
true.
go- it's gonna be like 50-50 current and legend, so that's gonna be weird to see. So that now the 1/3 of the game you have to really get New
You're g-
Japan
you're
creations
gonna
from other guys.
you're gonna see five iterations of The Rock and Undertaker, so that
Ah,
they're
And
gonna
then
have
all,
10.
and then four versions of Mick Foley. That's
Uh,
gonna be cool. The Mick
Remember, it's The
ah.
Rock's
Foley.
anniversary, 20th, I think.
Oh yeah,
I think
25th
And
it's his
then
anniversary of
anniversary.
The Rock.
So they're gonna put many versions of The Rock there.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then you're probably gonna have at least three versions of Stone Cold, Ringmaster Stone Cold. That was
I
the
like that.
What else? What else? What else can they do? We gave you Terry Funk before. Now we give you Dory Funk. He may not have wrestled with us, but hey, that's Terry Funk's brother.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I remember 2K19 had like every version of Triple H.
Ah,
From
yeah.
My
Oh my
Time
God.
Triple H to DX Triple H to
No,
like
he didn't have the best one. Jean
Which
Paul
one?
Levesque, WCW Jean Paul, with the
Dude,
oh god.
who was the
Quebec
partner of
accent.
Hurricane? The brother of Roman? Rosie?
Rosie. Yeah,
Oh, they
Rosie.
add Rosie. They should add Rosie.
Yeah, they
That would be
should.
nice
Hurricane
actually.
And
Rosie.
imagine, add Rosie to the stable of Roman Reigns right now with his
Yeah,
costume.
as a little tribute, or down go free Roman Reigns Rosie superheroes costume
And
DLC.
then and mixed tag team. Nikki ASH and Rosie.
Oh, best. Yeah, okay. Six man with the Hurricane, but yeah, the way 2K20, yeah, one of the worst launches of a wrestling game. Worst wrestling game launch of all time. I guess nothing would top this so far because the other wrestling games are just so bad. Na it's bad before it came out. 2K20 was a different case, and we were just disappointed. So I hope they really do whatever fixes they need to do on 2K22, so it's a fun wrestling game. Next up, we have SimCity 2013. Steven, this is your experience here. SimCity is a long running line of city simulation, city building games where that has been around since the 90s. And I remember playing SimCity 2000, various iterations of SimCity 2000, and um SimCity 3K. They were great games. They were great games. You
They
were
were
able to
really
make your own
good, yeah.
city. You can create your own road networks, pipelines. It's a realistic city building simulator. And after a while, it kind of dropped off because The Sims is popular, and the RTS, the real time strategy genre, in a way, was kind of not as popular as before. So we never even Command and Conquer waned down, diba? Even Command and Conquer
Yeah.
And no
Yeah.
StarCraft during that time.
yeah, even StarCraft had the hiatus. Right, we had to wait long for the sequel, which I think came out the same year as SimCity 2013 did. Um, yeah, let's go. SimCity was supposed to be like the wonderful return of SimCity to the new generation of systems back then. It was like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're just gonna give you an upgraded set of visuals and the same city building experience from before. Okay, they do if they did that straight up, that's all right. But what happened was, disaster because no one could even play the game on launch because you have to go always online. I know always online is a standard feature now. Like we kind of don't care that we're always online. Eventually, we're always online now. Like our devices are always connected to the internet, and most of the time, single player modes, there are offline modes to choose from. Which is fine. Create your own city and stuff. But then SimCity didn't release with that. You have to be connected online, and then EA servers suck in general. EA servers are just on a different level of annoying. No matter what game you're playing in. So like whether it be FIFA, Madden, Apex Legends had problems with its servers, and that's not even developed by EA, and they just published it, and they even hurt the game that they're supporting. But yeah, SimCity had that, and I think even the main game itself, when people played the game, it was kind of disappointing because it's not as rich and diverse as the other SimCities are. I guess it was. I think they went back to basics on the city building. But yeah, Steven, were you able to try this before?
Personally, no, because I read all the negative reviews and I was disappointed. Kasi yung friend ko, he bought SimCity 4. As in, this was when DataBlitz was selling these old EA games with the big box. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
this is gonna show our age, but when we were younger, when you go to DataBlitz, you would buy games in these really big paper boxes with
Mm-hmm.
like tiny instruction manuals inside, and then there's a CD case like inside. That
Mm-hmm.
was in the early 2000s. When we got the SimCity and like SimCity 4, we had these smaller like gray plastic cases
Mm-hmm.
that became the standard for EA games for a while. And I just wanted to share that. Naalala ko lang kasi I remember SimCity was in those small gray cases. And I had a course mate, one of our seniors in college, who said that he was so disappointed in the world building of SimCity 2013 because it was the it was supposed to be a reboot. Because after SimCity 4 was so good. You could do so many things.
But yeah, SimCity 4 was I would say a masterpiece.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
since
much. Pretty much.
it was entirely 3D. You can see
Yes.
whatever you can see, and yeah,
And then
that was
when you
a
got to when you got to SimCity the reboot, it's like why the heck does everything have to be online? The point of SimCity is that you don't have to be online. But then now they have the SimCity app on iPad, which is just, it's addicting, I'll be honest, but it's just not the same feeling when you play SimCity offline because SimCity is meant to be played offline. The
Mhm.
Sims, we all know what happened with The Sims online. So why did they even try it with SimCity? Anyway, yun lang. Yun yung rant ko na parang they didn't have to take it online. That's it.
Yeah, and however, despite SimCity 2013 died, but then again, we have City Skylines. So Earl, have you tried any of the SimCity games before?
The old SimCity, I think it's 2019, 2009 below version, because
Mm,
I remember I played it during when I was grade 6 or I was first year high school. That SimCity
nice.
version near that timeline. Well, it
Mhm.
was fun. I made the city then. Technically, what kids do, like GTA, I cause always. mayhem where I put earthquake, tornadoes, all of
All the disasters.
all the disasters.
Yeah,
And
but
basically
yeah,
like that. I make the city so good and I will destroy it right away by just adding some disasters right to it. It was fun, and also as what you have said a while ago, it does not need to be online. It's fun to to play it offline. There's no need to be online because there's no community to play with. Basically, you just play with yourself.
yeah. Although I don't think. Also, I don't think SimCity multiplayer would actually be something people would like, or unless you're sharing a city with someone else, like yay, two mayor mode or something. But yeah, it's not something people would want to look for in a Sims game.
Or
But yeah.
unless
Mhm.
or unless we might just not know that EA was planning a game like Minecraft, but it did not work out like how Minecraft did, because SimCity is basically near Minecraft where you make your own city or you make your own ecosystem. But
Mhm.
and it needs to be online. That's Minecraft. But I think they might want to be like that, but they did not accomplish it because people already know what SimCity is, and the Sims games also. Basically, it's just an offline game where you can enjoy local co-op. No, there's no local co-op. I mean, you can enjoy it playing by yourself. It's like a couch potato game.
Yeah, you can just build your own on your own time. So yeah. Okay. Now, from one EA game, from one EA release that's quite disastrous, to another one that's also recent, and we go to talk about what happened to Battlefield 2042, which is the first new generation of Battlefield. And Earl, were you able to see what happened to Battlefield 4 before?
Not quite, because I'm more of a Call of Duty type of person. I
Okay.
just played it when I already have Game Pass, but basically I think it's already fixed by the time I already played it.
Okay. So Battlefield 4 was the previous generation, the previous new version of Battlefield. The one that released on the PS4 and PS4 and Xbox One, yeah. So it was supposed to be the evolution of Battlefield, where you can destroy huge chunks of the map, a single player campaign that's strong, a solid single player campaign. But the problem was they released it as a buggy mess. EA release. When EA releases something online, it's a buggy mess. It's a bad release eventually. So it took everyone like a long time to fix. And now Battlefield 4 is loved. People love Battlefield 4 enough na they still play it even while waiting for Battlefield 2042. And now people now kind of want to go back to Battlefield 4 because of what they see in 2042. That's a problem. Earl, what's your opinion on near futuristic war settings like I don't know, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, and 2042?
I think it's also a hit or a miss. It depends on the total gameplay itself, because if you're more on a futuristic side, you need to balance out those weapons, and some weapons became too OP or too futuristic that it is not realistic at all. When you assume it 10 to 20 years, it won't still come up. It's not like what Back to the Future said, that 2020 will have flying cars, and we still don't have any of those right now. That's
Yeah, that's no
how that's the
flankers.
drawback of a, a shooting game that focuses on futuristic concept of guns or futuristic warfare. That's where the old Call of Duty blooms, and the old Battlefield concept, where it's mostly just the battle of World War,
Mm-hmm.
or the battle with the Taliban's, or any terrorist that is like Al Qaeda or the Taliban.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's like China, Russia for the previous Battlefield game. So like I think yeah, the Middle Eastern one was in Battlefield 2, so that's one thing. Medal of
I
Honor did that pala. They
I think
tried.
they should have made a concept. Remember the shooter game where the North and South Korea united and
Ah,
attack US? That's a good concept of a story. That's a new.
Homefront?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
But
the
yeah,
story was a bit refreshing because it's not anymore any Arabic terrorist or what, or
it's no
Japanese
longer
or
Middle Eastern.
German. It's an Asian, but it's somehow uh what if.
I remember mercenaries being like that, so that's one thing. So like but yeah, mercenaries being a Korean setting. But yeah, now we go to Battlefield 2042 and it's a near future game, 21 years from now. Um it was like they said that basically the world is all of the world satellites dropped. All of the world satellites dropped and the US and Russia are the only two superpowers in the world and everyone else is just there.
Why did they
Gone.
exclude China?
I can't remember what happened. I think everyone collapsed except for the two. I can't even remember if they have even mentioned what happened to the Chinese side because they're a prominent side in some of the Battlefield games, which is interesting. But yeah, oh yeah, okay. Battlefield 2042. What's different on it is that instead of like in Battlefield, you play as different classes of soldiers: assault, sniper, engineer, medic. What they did was they introduced characters who are
Hmm,
under those classes.
I think yeah, that's the same type of gameplay as Battlefield 1. What the new Battlefield before
Battlefield 5,
2040?
the
Yeah,
five,
that's one.
yeah, World War
It's
Two.
more of a story arc.
Yeah. What they did was, yeah, the problem is there's no campaign as well. They decided that Battlefield 2042 is all multiplayer, and then they had operative. Okay, they had specialists. So the specialists are the characters. Um, the problem is the characters feel like you've seen them before or not as Uh, the characters work. They're really good. They're really good. I played a lot of the characters in 2042. They're really strong. Some of them are really OP, but they feel like they need a lot more time to fix or a lot more time in the oven, so to speak. Like I wish their skills were a bit better. Or just I wish the game ran better. Okay, so Battlefield 2042, when it launched, it had a couple of problems. One, like the bullets not hitting, like the guns not hitting properly. No, even though the gun's range is at the right range, you're hitting the enemy at the right length, at the right distance, and there's only like one gun that's really powerful, right? Up until recently, and then you can run a hovercraft on the side of a building and make it fly. That's one thing. That's the worst part. And then you can when you hit a helicopter and airplane on the side of a building, it doesn't blow up. It just bounces off. And let's not talk about what happens when you go inside elevators in the game. It's a massacre there inside the elevators. You try up and down crouching there, you're gonna you're gonna disappear in the elevator. But yeah, Steven, have you tried a Battlefield game before?
I may have played Battlefield before in the PS2 in my friend's
Yeah.
house. It's been that long since I last played Battlefield.
Okay. So yeah.
Um, it's very different for sure from the way you're describing it. As in, everybody just wanted to become a battle royale. So Battlefield is EA, right?
Yeah.
Mm, yeah,
Um
So,
yeah. Oh yeah, they
so
also introduced yeah, okay.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Battlefield in general, right now, 2042, up the ante. So like back the older Battlefield games, there's 64 player combat, 64
Mm-hmm.
players online, 32
Yeah.
versus 32. Now they're doing 128, so
Uh,
64 each side. They doubled. So it's not a battle royale per se. It's Battlefield is like two teams fight over the entire map to capture as many sectors as they can, and until the enemy runs out. So that's pretty much it. That's the
So
experience.
so it's slightly different from, let's say, like Fortnite kasi diba it's like winner take all,
Yeah. Well, it's not
this one.
well. That's the formula of Battlefield ever since. So like you
Mhm.
just basically capture as many points as you can until so the enemy runs out of
Team
Mhm.
A, Team B.
reinforcements. Yeah. Yeah, also although they did introduce a new mode called Hazard Zone, which is like you drop in a map, you retrieve something and then get out, which is kind of like Escape from Tarkov, where where it's like a cross between a battle royale and a survival game. So it's really different. But yeah, the problem is that yeah, Battlefield 2042, like Battlefield 4 before it, introduced the new generation of consoles with a buggy, kind of messy game. It's buggy. It's not. It doesn't work. Servers are not as optimized, and there are the times that it does work, it's all right. But the thing is, yeah, it needs a lot of fixes. And they recently released a patch, and they're releasing another one next week. And that kind of I think that kind of delayed their anticipated preseason content that they were supposed to run because they were gonna run a 4 seasons worth of content next year. So I hope they do that. But yeah, Battlefield 2042 followed the tradition of Battlefield 4 and released kind of messy. That's one thing. Now we go from a messy launch from one messy launch to another one, another from the sports world, and that's eFootball 2022. Now, eFootball 2022 is the renaming, the rebranding of Pro Evolution Soccer. So Konami
Yes.
decided, okay, we're gonna go for a yearly free-to-play football game. The concept is great, diba? And then, you're gonna buy DLC, and the DLC that you're gonna buy is the DLC is just the game modes that you want to play. So if you want to have like a or like a manager mode where you wanna manage a team to an entire league, or you wanna add a couple of things, you can just pick your poison and just play the game your way. But the thing is, the concept is nice, but when Konami soft launched this title, it was just a disaster. It was glitchy. The graphics look like previous generation football games. Especially, I think it's because they changed the game engine a lot. They changed the game engine from Hideo Kojima's Fox engine to a new. I think it was Unreal or something. But yeah, it was a disaster. eFootball 2022 was a sad, messy game, and it was interesting. It was interesting on that. So yeah, Steven, you've heard of eFootball. So what do you think of the concept?
Okay, so I played eFootball. I've only played it twice at the
Mm-hmm.
moment kasi nga ang daming glitch. There's so many glitches. So the first time I played it, what I did was, okay, I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't expect it to be that bad. Faces were weird. Uh, like Cristiano Ronaldo's face was like too stretched.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody looked weird, and then everybody had these weird facial reactions. It's weird kasi nga, diba, Pro Evolution PES is considered technically the more accurate game ba? If that's the best way,
In a
technically
way,
better
the gameplay
game.
feels more of a simulation than the other one,
Yes, yes,
than
exactly.
FIFA.
So that's what I was looking for. Thank you, Jude. Um, it's more of a simulation of actual football versus FIFA, but the end result, yes, the gameplay is good. I'll be honest, the gameplay is nice. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
graphics that were weird, and the backlash. I agree with. I agree with the public backlash saying that, hey, the graphics are weird, the faces are stretching and stuff. So I think it was a good move by Konami to delay the launch of the ELCs and stuff because
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're holding it
they
back.
they need to take a hard look in their graphics. Kasi gameplay is fine for me. Kasi I actually enjoyed the gameplay more kasi mas challenging siya versus FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
But then my point of comparison is FIFA 18. So I may not be the best person to judge, but I have enjoyed the technical challenges of eFootball 2022 more than FIFA. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, technically good, but graphics wise, it's gonna take a while to improve. That's it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, we. So I guess that's it for eFootball though. They're gonna have this release next year. So hopefully by the time it's good. All we need is a functioning football game because FIFA might not even be around next year because EA lost the FIFA license. So it might be the only football game we have going at the ready by next year. So it's gonna be interesting. So, here, our next item here is a launch that's so bad that they had to actually remake the entire game, which resulted to actually one of the most beloved Final Fantasy titles of all time, and that is Final Fantasy 14. Okay, Final Fantasy 14 is the second MMORPG Final Fantasy game, and that's interesting because Final Fantasy 11 was so good. Was actually a great was an experiment probably by Square Enix to see like, hey, does Final Fantasy work as a massive multiplayer online game? And it does. It does a lot. And Final Fantasy 14 right now is one of the most well loved Final Fantasy games ever. It's probably the best Final Fantasy of the decade. Now, Earl, you've played a lot of Final Fantasy. Would you agree that FF14 is one of the best currently in the series?
I haven't played it actually. The online iterations of Final Fantasy, I haven't played it, but I have seen community posted posts that they 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 like the gameplay of Final Fantasy 14. The praise that I have seen is somehow like those players who enjoyed World of Warcraft, for example, or the
Mm-hmm.
Elder Scrolls Online. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, how good those two games on their own story is how good Final Fantasy 14 also is to their own community, or it's a niche online game where only those who enjoy Final Fantasy can enjoy or can have fun with it because they know the story, they know the lore.
Yeah. Also worth noting that you can almost play any Final Fantasy. You can almost experience any Final Fantasy game inside FF14 right now because the expansions of the game. You can explore some Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 worlds. I think there's Ivalice, so like the Viera village is there. So that's really cool. And but before all of that, Final Fantasy 14 launched as a complete disaster. Like the servers weren't working, the game was just broken, and in the end, Square Enix decided we're gonna pull this game from everywhere, and a while later they released a new version of the game. Like it's like an entirely different version of the game called A Realm Reborn, and the Realm Reborn version is the current Final Fantasy 14 we're experiencing, and
It's
has been
literally
some.
reborn.
Yeah, they literally remade the game because it was so bad and broken, and that paid off. That gamble paid off. At least now we're experiencing one of the biggest. We now have one of the biggest MMORPGs right now.
Which
Big
one
enough
came
that
first? 14 or Fallout 76?
14. Fallout 76 is also another wonderful story of how bad the video game launch
Hmm.
can go, diba? We just didn't include it because it's just a lot of people just discussed this one. Um, but yeah, okay. Now we've been seeing a trend here. Like a lot of the games that we have broken launches on are connected to online connection or yeah online
Mostly.
only modes. So our next one is one of the first. Well, our next few ones actually next three ones are online modes. But before that, let's go. Steven, a message from our friends at Shopee.
All right. So Shopee's payday sale is happening real soon. It's almost November 30. So enjoy your Bonifacio Day holiday by not only remembering our heroes, but also enjoying discounts on Shopee. So make the most of the Shopee payday sale, get discount vouchers, cashback, and more when you check out using our affiliate link podlink.co/o2k. When you use that link, we get a small commission from every successful checkout. So that is it for Shopee.
Salamat, Shopee.
Yay! Salamat Shopee. Si Ding Dong na yung bagong endorser.
Interesting, interesting. Let's go. Okay. Now from one buggy online release to another, this they always keep coming. Anyway, Diablo 3. Diablo 3 is one of the was a long awaited sequel. People waited for like almost a decade. A decade for this. More than a decade for this. Um Diablo 3, I remember I think in Data Blitz in Greenbelt, they had a long line there. People lined up for Diablo 3 only to come home and find out that they could not play the game because of the infamous Error 37. So Error 37 refers to um, the error when players try to log in the game, and that means they cannot log in because the servers of Battle.net are full. The Battle.net Blizzard servers are just busted at that time. There were so many people playing the game that they crashed the servers, and now no one can play the game. So you had the servers are busy. You have to try again later, and you have really had to wait. You really had to wait a long time, and the millions of people who played the game, well, they could not. Everyone was just frustrated, and in the end, uh, they had to fix this, and eventually they did fix this, and Diablo 3 is actually one of the best experiences, one of the best Diablo games around. Sure, Diablo 2 is like the best Diablo game, maybe, like in among the three. But Diablo 3 was solid, was a solid new generation retelling of Diablo, new sequel to Diablo. And now we're waiting for Diablo 4, which is also taking a while. It's now, I think it's almost a decade. It's gonna be a decade next year if ever they release it. And they're gonna release Diablo Immortal first on mobile, so that's gonna be weird. But Earl, have you played Diablo on launch?
Diablo 3, no. Diablo 2, I played a lot. I played Diablo 3 on the PS3, and same as the Battlefield version, it's already fixed when I already
Ah,
played it. The
okay. So that's
issues is not already there. It's barely visible, or you can't experience it. So it's a fluid experience when I started playing it.
all right. So, our next one is another edition, another pretty much a compilation of a beloved FPS franchise, one of the best FPS franchise, which this year is having a new release and has a multiplayer beta, which I've played a lot and I've liked, and that is Halo: The Master Chief Collection. Now, right now, Halo Infinite is coming out next month. The campaign is coming out next month. And right now, the multiplayer is being enjoyed by everyone, like longtime Halo fans, newcomers alike. I enjoyed it so much. Like I'm new to Halo, and the fact that I can experience the multiplayer version of Halo for free for life, that's actually the best thing. The gunplay is smooth, everything is nice, and Halo Infinite looks to be the redemption arc for 343 Industries after they took over from Bungie. So they're the ones who handled Halo 4 and 5, and Halo and those two games were kind of were hit and miss in a lot of ways. So Halo Infinite's the redemption arc, but before that, one of the biggest problems of Halo was the Halo Master Chief Collection. Master Chief Collection is Halo, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach. So basically, the original Bungie Halo collection, all in one. Right now, it's very affordable on Steam, and yeah, it's really cool. The fact
It's
that you
free
can,
on Game Pass.
oh, see, yeah, you have all the Halo games at the tip of your fingers, essentially. But the problem was Halo: The Master Chief Collection. The single player campaigns work. You know, the single player campaigns of Halo are some of the best campaigns in any FPS game. But then again, people are in for Halo, not just for the campaign, but also for the multiplayer. And the multiplayer did not work. The matchmaking took a long time before you found the game, and that's weird because there are millions, thousands of players playing every moment in Halo in Xbox Live.
That's why people just played on the Halo 3 servers and Halo
Yeah,
2 servers
that's why they
because
went back to
it played
the
better
classic.
compared to the Master Chief
Yeah.
edition during that
Um,
time.
I think until now, people go back to Halo 3 servers just to play
Mm.
old school Halo and enjoy it. And the problem was until now they've been trying to fix this, and I think 343 in the 343 studios did already they already addressed this. They already stated what happened. I think it was mismanagement on their part. I think it was because they had to, it was like I think it was handled by all by a separate studio, some of the work. So it was a mess, a multiplayer mess. Then that's sad. But yeah, Halo Master Chief Collection, even though it's a multiplayer mess right now, or still is at some points, you can still buy it. It's still a complete edition of all the Halo campaigns, and that's still one of the best set of FPS games you could ever get. The series. But yeah, Halo Master Chief Collection, even though it's a great compilation of old classic FPS games, it was bad at launch because no one can ever play the multiplayer, which love. People love the multiplayer Halo, and they just couldn't play it. Now thankfully we have Halo Infinite to bring all the Halo players back into one new game, and that's fun. Now from one multiplayer game to another, I mean multiplayer games launching badly. That's a common trend right now, and one of the worst ones was the much hyped Anthem. Now, Earl, Steven, I think we all encountered E3 with Anthem, where the trailer was a scripted multiplayer gameplay, and then where people flew in like Tony Stark's Iron Man in their suits across a beautifully crafted world where it was full of nature, trees, and then it was cool. Anthem was hype because it was made by BioWare, the guys who made Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, and Mass Effect, and Dragon Age. Imagine they had the reputation of hits behind them. And sure, Mass Effect Andromeda was just bad. But hey, that's just one bad game. They tried to make a sequel to Mass Effect. Okay, it didn't work. Now they have Anthem. Now Anthem was much hyped because it looks so good. Earl, were you hyped when you saw Anthem first time?
Yes. Sadly, yes. Now we
Thanks.
learned a moral lesson. Don't ride the hype train,
Yeah, let's not get tickets to any hype train now. It's gonna be sad eventually. But yeah,
especially if it's just trailers.
yeah. Okay. So eventually, what happened to Anthem upon release? Well, the usual EA server issues, yeah. But the thing is, the game was dead. The game felt dead. Like, not felt lifeless. BioWare is known for creating games where your choices matter, where you can explore an entire world filled with side quests, filled with things to do, filled with people to interact, and each of those interactions, however you interact, would affect your state in the game. But Anthem did not have that, and it had it had a lot more problems, and I think one of the biggest revelations there was the Kotaku article, which uncovered why Anthem was like a bad production from the get go. One being is that the game engine for Anthem is not good for RPG games or for multiplayer games. Not good for RPG games. And the engine they used was, surprise, surprise, the Battlefield dice engine, Frostbite engine, which is great because it allows you to create destructive effects. And I know it was used in Star Wars Battlefront, and Star Wars Battlefront had its own share of problems, but at least the game looks good, and it worked well enough. But then Anthem lacked a lot of the things that made Bioware games so good. Apart from, even the Iron Man suit flying was limited. Like, you weren't you can actually fly all across the world. There's like a fuel limit to what you can do, and that's a bummer. And yeah, Anthem until now, I think it's still alive. Early, I think it's still alive, right? It's still there.
Not quite sure. I don't know
I can't
anyone who plays it
remember.
right now.
I don't know anyone who plays Anthem as well. I know people who tried Anthem on launch and said, hey, it's not that bad, but hey, you're the only guys playing it. So, and then it was an unfortunate time because I think a few weeks earlier, Apex Legends released, and Apex was so good. Apex released, like, it was the EA game that worked, and everyone just rode there, and then Anthem was just left to die in some way. And now they're still trying to salvage whatever is left of Anthem, but at this point, you don't know how much longer they'll take, and they'll maintain it because it's expensive. At managing a multiplayer game is expensive, especially with the caliber of what Anthem is. It's a AAA game, so we're sad. Anthem could have been something really awesome, and in the end it just floundered and flopped. And now you can still play it. I think you can still play it, but hey, why would you play it? At this point, it's a sad reminder of, yeah, the hype train is fun, but yeah, there are times the hype train just doesn't deliver. It doesn't take you to the best station, or it doesn't even take you to the hype station at all. You're just stuck there. um but yeah, speaking of hype trains, well, the hype train for the last entry of our episode is probably the biggest hype train I've seen in a long time. Would you
The
agree, Earl?
biggest
Would you agree, Steven?
E3,
Yeah,
E3 and all their
E3.
Yeah.
hypes.
Yeah.
The hype.
E3, I think it's E3. Multiple game shows. They went to multiple
Yeah, they
game
went
shows.
multiple game shows,
They
and
overhyped it.
yeah, I know they also it also took them almost 10 years they took a deck almost like ten
No,
years to hype this up for all of us, right?
technically, it was developed less than 5 years, 5 years below. But the idea
Announced.
started 10 years ago.
Yeah, see, people were clamoring for this game even before Witcher 3 appeared.
Hmm. But
Even even before after Witcher 2, I guess.
as we have seen the past list, most of them has had a good vision, but it's beyond their reach during development, or
Yeah, it's too
management
much.
issues, or whatever internal issues they have. The idea is good, but the execution was bad.
It's sad. Well, our last entry is Cyberpunk
Oh my
2077,
gosh.
and not even Keanu Reeves can save this game from being a glitchy dumpster fire of an RPG when it
He couldn't
launched.
use his Neo powers.
Up
It had, well, Earl. Upon launch, what were the issues you experienced?
everything. Uh, Crashes, FPS
Ooh.
drops. By I mean crashes like for the you played 10 minutes, you crash already, and when you go back again it will crash in around 3 minutes or so. So I upgraded to an SSD. It still crashed. Basically everything is glitchy, and the mechanics is as bad as it is that I've told everyone. It's not as breathtaking as what they have told us during E3, but as of now I could also use that again. It's breathtaking. It will take your breath away because of how glitchy it is. How how reused the global NPC you see there are all reused in their lore.
Oh
you
no.
s- you see the kids, when you see kid NPC, they're just the miniature versions of the older NPCs. Like the body is small, but the face is the old people, the old persons, and then they only have a script that they move in circles. After they reach that point, they turn around. It's either they turn around or disappear and go back to the starting point. It's the same way as their cars. It's just turning around and around in a certain circular manner. So basically, it's not as good as what they have shown. Basically, what we saw on their gameplay trailer is technically the full game itself already. You don't have anything new at all. Once for example, they hype it as a game that has decision making like Witcher. So before Witcher, what have you played? Decision making in Skyrim. It
Mass
changes.
Effect.
Mass Effect. Skyrim does not change technically everything, but you
Mhm.
have role playing elements there. Mass Effect technically changes everything. That's what they did on Witcher, where they have multiple endings, and they hype it that you can also do that on Cyberpunk. So people bought that because of how good Witcher 3
Witcher
is.
3 is, di ba?
But we need to take note that the launch of Witcher 3 was as
Was
bad
bad.
as Cyberpunk is. So
Okay.
people forgot that CD
CD
Projekt Red
Projekt Red, ano, can
had
screw up.
already a history with
Mhm.
crappy releases, and they should have learned from that. People always say they're not Fallout 76, they're not this or that. But true, they're not those games, but they should have learned because they themselves started Witcher 3 on a bad note. So they should have known better that this type of games, triple A quality games, should release without much issues. Issues are okay at some point as long as it's not game breaking. But the game breaking issues is literally too many. That PC versions get corrupt files once they crashed. Console versions don't have that, but it literally crashes like every 5 minutes to 10 minutes. And it's on a random cases. Some doesn't have any issues in crashes, some crashes at all. And it's not just on the Xbox One. It's on the Series X also because you can play it right away in your Series X because PS5 I think plays on the PS4 version.
I think it's delayed.
Yeah, the next gen. But there's no
Mm-hmm.
point in releasing next gen. So aside from the issues they had, the story is very linear because you expect a Mass Effect type or a Witcher 3 type that those side missions weigh a lot that changes the course of your main story. But basically, there's just like a couple of decisions that changes the end game of the story plot. Basically, it's who you choose.
Mm-hmm.
For example, who you choose as a partner, or you go solo. It's basically just like it. And after that, it's still two choices.
Your ending is just the same.
Either you die or you live. Just like that.
Oh.
There's basically
Oh.
it's a bland game. When you thought that they basically they did not lie also that there's life paths, but there's still life path on the
The
actual
life
game,
paths
but
didn't do
they
anything.
no, they did a bit, but they reduce it because we assume that those life paths, as per what they have said, is game changing. It will change everything, how you communicate to NPCs whatsoever. No, it does not change. It does change on some side missions only, by some at least one or two side missions. So
Oh
basically,
no, that's sad.
you won't feel it at all. Basically, each life pass has their own benefit side missions, but that's it. A couple of side missions, one or two side missions. So you can't really see any character development at all.
Mm-hmm.
But without the hype, it's a good game. but not as good as what they have hyped it or sold it to the community.
Mhm.
Even
Okay.
mods can't save it.
Yeah. Okay. My question. What if they released if they delayed this to 2022? Would you think it would have been a way better game?
Yeah, it would have been way better if they release it. Yeah, the initial release date was supposed to be 2022.
No.
Then, due to pressure from fans or directors, board of
Everyone.
directors, from everyone, they gave in. They should not have gave in because they know it's an unfinished game, and that that shows their organization as a whole.
Mhm.
Because basically, the team that handles Cyberpunk is not the team that handles The Witcher series.
No. Oh, yeah.
Most
Yeah.
of them left or
Oh.
have different projects
Oh,
from
yeah.
Mm.
different. So basically, it's just the head executives. And
Mm.
the worst part is they just passing the ball who to blame. They blame the lower employees blame them, then the community blame themselves, everyone blame themselves. That's the problem because the community or the users does not have any say on the releases of the game.
Mhm.
It's still the company as a whole, so
Yeah.
they should always take the blame, but they didn't take the blame at all. And especially if they release it next gen, they already delayed the supposed to be DLCs, free
Yeah.
and paid.
No.
So
Mm.
it's super delayed once it released. And do take note that when they release, even RTX video cards suffered a lot on the PC. Imagine RTX video cards had a hard
20 to
time.
30 series video cards
Mm,
not taking
ah,
the
and
brunt.
only mods from the community save it.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
it improved the game around 10 to 30 FPS on the PC versions
Oh my gosh.
because of those mods. And ironically, as of November or October, they hired those modders to
To actually
fix
help them.
Cyberpunk.
Oh my gosh.
I
Oh
hope they pay
That's
man.
them
how
well because
bad it
they have to
is.
save it.
Okay,
But
that's
yeah,
crazy. That's crazy.
Cyberpunk 2077, and yeah, it was gonna be a lot of hype. I almost considered buying it straight up
Yeah.
because I played Doom Eternal, I played Ghost of Tsushima, and I was thinking, hey, this is gonna be a nice little streak if I get. What if I get Cyberpunk and it's also great? It's also great. But then again, in the end, it makes people buy Witcher 3 more because Witcher
Yeah.
3 is still a very playable experience, even though it's 2015, because it still plays so well. It plays
I
well
bought
enough, and then the Game of the Year edition has two expansions that just work so well. The second
the
expansion is
good.
like a new map, which made me even like the game more. I think I like the expansion even more than the game. So that's
The
how
two
good it is.
expansions have good stories.
Yeah,
The
diba?
Heart of Stone has a good story even if it's in the same map.
Yeah, Heart of Stone is like a small part of the map lang, but at least the story is there.
I call it
With
the Silent Hill Witcher.
yeah, sabagay, yeah, it's a scary part. It's a scary and it's a horror
Mm.
arc of Witcher. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 could at least maybe at least was like maybe half of what Witcher 3 is. The decision making, and it would have been better than it is now. I just wish
Imagine,
that
uh,
I just wish
imagine,
they
Jude.
delayed it.
Imagine I bought it together with Watch Dogs Legion, and Watch Dogs Legion has also its fair share of glitches and bugs and crashes. That's a Ubisoft effect, but it's not as bad as Cyberpunk. When I crash on Watch Dogs, it takes me minimum 30 minutes to 1 hour. It's not like within 1 hour I got 5 to 10 crashes in Cyberpunk.
Mhm.
That's just how bad it is. And imagine playing it on day one when you're so excited creating character customization only to not see your character at all because basically it's just a first person game.
Mhm. But yeah, that's the
So all those
problem.
customizations, I spent like nearly more than 1 hour customizing it and basically don't see it at all. You can just see your character once you go to your inventory tab where you choose what attire or what weapons
Your
to use.
equipment.
Yes.
No. But yeah.
And also
Cyberpunk.
their driving mechanics is really that bad. I'm not a good driver in driving Sims games, but I'm really bad in driving at Cyberpunk compared at GTA. It's
Yeah.
even easier to ride the horse of Red Dead Redemption.
Oh my god. Speaking of
But yeah.
Cyberpunk, it was I'm like Jude. I was super hyped, and then our friend Ro of the Wrestling podcast played it, and it was bad. It was really bad. Like I don't know what else to say. It was just bad. Um, that
Mhm.
made me realize, and you know what? It's better to wait a few months before buying games talaga. And this
That's
whole
true.
episode, I think, reminded me to, just wait for reviews to come out and then see for yourself if it's worth buying. Like Spider-Man PS4 is one of those rare games na from the beginning you knew this was going to be something special and it lived up to it. Cyberpunk,
Well,
so much hype. And then when it got to the actual launch, it's like, oh shit, it's a shit game. So I don't know what else to say. Jude, you were gonna say something. Sorry.
no, but then again, my work, a lot of the stuff I do entails me to have to play games on launch. So
Hmm.
that's something that's something I rarely avoid. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of like it's always a matter of expectation management because people tend to cling on developers and their games a lot. Like
Yeah.
BioWare, CD Project Red, Bethesda, always they all clung to the hope that hey, they do good games, and then in the end they don't. They screw it. In the end they launch releases so bad that you wonder why, and they even act surprised. But yeah, I think it's a matter of expectation management and picking which games. Just I tend to pick which new game I'm gonna get, and take a deep look. I love games that have open beta. I love games
Oh,
that offer
that's a
demos
good
and open
style.
beta because the ones that have demos and open betas tend to be better built than the other ones. Case
That's
in
what
point,
Scarlet Nexus did.
I played the Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise demos.
Ah,
They're really good
same.
on that state in that state that they are in, even though they're really like short 30-minute demos. But at least I know the mechanics that they have there is already solid enough to carry the game, and true enough, they did.
Same
Halo
as
Infinite right now is doing it, diba?
yes. Final Fantasy VII did it on the
Ah,
PlayStation
yeah, Final
also.
Fantasy VII
The
remake
remake.
had the had the demo a few months before the release, and people already knew how hard the game would be compared to the original. Like the combat system is different,
And I like
and
that they also gave an option that there is a turn-based option and also the live action type. So that's a good upgrade they made and a good
yeah,
choice they also made.
yeah. See, that's how I think games. I think game developers should just. I know if they have to delay, they have to delay. I don't care if they delay it so much. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter to me if it's delayed too much. Well, it would matter if it's delayed for at least years now.
I think
If they delay the release by like at least a year or a few months, that's all
a
right
year or
because
two, a year
yeah, a
or
year or
two
two
max.
max. Because anything that's more than three,
Yes.
that means it's in development hell or they changed entire things. So that's scary. But in general, I guess the lesson here is, don't simp on your developers, guys. Honestly, don't. I mean, I know game developers have a lot of great have had. a great set of games they've made over the past 3 decades or so. But yeah, you can't just you have to manage your expectations. I don't always take a deeper look at the games you play. And there are times the reason I play a lot more indie games right now is because the expectations there aren't that big. Like what I'm expecting in an
Yeah.
indie game is it's small scale, but I know it's made with a lot of care because it's a small project, it's a small team project, and I know na at least their vision is to make sure that everything just works, and you like you have everything works, and you're gonna enjoy it, no matter how big or how small that game is. Yeah, and I think it's all a matter of just waiting for info to come. Like, if it's only like a set of trailers, if they don't show the gameplay trailer early, that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. We should have a
Yeah.
checklist for that. Like,
No. The
whenever we
initial
have like
announcement.
a new game announcement,
Mm,
like there's a first it's like a press release. Hey, we're gonna make this new game. Okay, boom. That's the usual. But when they announce the E3 teaser trailer, I'm not. That's when I see. Oh, okay, they're making this. It looks good. But I want to see the gameplay trailer first. I think Doom and Doom Eternal did that, and that's how they got the hype train going for them. And the hype train delivered. It became one of the most well loved FPSs, and it's good. But yeah, in the end, we just have to manage our expectations, I guess, and just pick our battles in this game launch window, because the video game release calendar is always on, always active, and we just have to pick games that we invest on. Like, honestly, we just have to find the you just have to make sure that we take a look, always take a second, third look at the game before buying it, or before bringing into the hype, because I myself would bring myself into the hype like a couple of weeks before release. And but that's with safety, because I've seen previews. Okay, yun. One thing, yeah, just be sure, guys, just check, just if the more info you see about that upcoming game, the better. Yeah, that's the best takeaway we can do. Because if they don't provide enough info and the launch is bad, don't be surprised anymore. That's the brutality of the video game industry. And that's it. That's our 10 worst video game launches. And those were disasters, but hey, a lot of them are redeemable disasters for the most part. And yeah, it's a lesson on riding the hype train. And yeah, and that's our episode. And of course, Earl, thank you so much for joining us
thank
for
you.
contributing for this one. This is a cool episode of video game launches. 98 episodes, two more, we're gonna be done. We're gonna be done with the 100 route, and we're gonna
Yeah.
be on to the next 50 or so episodes. We're gonna go to 101. And um, announcements before we end this. I think in 2 weeks we're gonna have the best games of 2021
Mhm.
game. It's our game of the year episode, and it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna have like we're still not sure how many games are gonna feature. Maybe at 10 or 12. At
Yeah.
least three for each person, or two for each person. So that's gonna be cool. And it's gonna be tough because there are so many great games this year, and this year is very interesting. Despite the bad launches, despite the negative reviews of a lot of games, despite a lot of games releasing in a bad state. But hey, we got a lot of unique games this year, and this year was supposed to be an off year
Hmm.
in video
True,
games. It
true.
was supposed to be the awkward first year of the new generation phase where everything is just experimentation. Thankfully, the experimentation worked out so well that we're getting good stuff. But now, that's episode 98. But before we leave, You can listen to the audio version of this podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other podcast platforms. We're in like 8 platforms.
Yep,
You can
that's right.
search it on search the Geeky Ones on Google. You'll find our blog site. You'll find a website where we have reviews and their various podcast platforms. Most of the time, best way you can listen to us is on Spotify and Anchor. Those are really those are free. You can get them and you can download them and listen to us during a commute or while work. Either way,
Hmm.
you're helping us out, and thank you for that. For our social media channels, you can follow at the Geeky Ones. We're at the Geeky Ones on all social media platforms. That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. That's really cool. And after that, Steven, you're plugging in your stuff here at Stevie said yup.
Yeah, all right. So you can find me at Stevie Said Yup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So I will be doing a not really unboxing, but more like showcasing the recently released Batman Beyond Joker Bot set. Now, that was supposed to be released earlier this year, but due to port issues, it was delayed. So I just got it today, and I will probably be uploading a video real soon. So stay tuned for that.
Nice. Okay. Now for my end, I have a page called Do This Jude where I stream games on Facebook, and I haven't streamed in a while because of work. A lot of work, overtime work is crazy, but it brings in the cash. I think I'm not sure what game I'll be streaming next. Maybe Ruin King, which I just bought. And Ruin King is an example of a video game surprise release, which is something we can tackle in the future. Surprise releases are unique because they don't announce. They just announce it. Hey, we have a new game, and people are just like, wait, what? You announced this before, and you never told anything about this, and now you're launching this with basically nothing. But then again, those times they work, sometimes they don't. But yeah, um, I'll be streaming again real soon. So I'm not sure which game. If I do Ruin King, that's gonna be a nice little adventure for you guys. And but yeah, that's the geeky ones. That's episode 98. We're two more to 100. That's awesome. And of course, thank you for watching, and for the audio listeners, thank you for listening. And yeah, we'll see you next episode. Episode 99 is on the way. Episode 100 is close to. So, yeah. This has been episode 98, worst video game launches of the geeky ones. And that has been us. So, goodbye and see you next episode. So, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.